Hi, I'm Dr. Rashawn Ray, aiming to speak truth to power, and this is my daily thought. Today I'm even more disturbed. I'm even more disturbed about the death of Korryn Gaines in Baltimore. It was a 23-year-old woman who was killed by police with her 5-year-old son present. And I'm not just disturbed about the death of Korryn Gaines, I'm also disturbed about the responses to the death of Korryn Gaines. This is real simple. Real simple. If you aren't pro-black woman, then you don't really support black lives. It's that simple. And I won't stop until blacks and other marginalized groups are unconditionally free. See, blacks shouldn't have to be perfect to survive. And even then, perfection may not save black lives. See, when we exert our First Amendment right by being too loud or too flamboyant, or our Second Amendment right by having a gun or loading a gun or waving a gun, this shouldn't necessarily mean the end of our demise. And so you know what will free black people? Is an end to racism and state-based genocide at the hands of a racially biased criminal justice system. See, this first graph shows that blacks, regardless of their social class background, those top two lines, the straight lines, show that middle class blacks and working class blacks are more likely than whites, who are the bottom lines. The dotted lines are more likely to be killed by the police. And that has persisted across the life course, meaning across age and across time, across decade, which is what this graph shows from the 1960s to the present. And even though that gap has shrunk, what's interesting about that gap is that it still persists. And until that gap doesn't persist, then we are not equal. We are not unconditionally free, right? We live in a society that is racially biased. This second graph shows that blacks, even when they aren't fighting back or don't have a weapon when they are interacting with the police, that they are still more likely to be killed by the police, which means whites, when they have a weapon, right? Or they are fighting back against the police, they are less likely to be killed than blacks who are engaging in similar types of behavior. But see, cognitive dissonance won't let people see these facts. These are facts. This is FBI data, right? So the proper Korryn Gaines comparison isn't between Korryn Gaines and Eric Gardner or Alton Sterling. Instead, the proper comparison is Korryn Gaines versus white men who are engaging in similar acts like Korryn Gaines, such as the man in Norfolk, Virginia, who had a several-hour standoff with police and ended up leaving unscathed, right, to have his day in court while Korryn Gaines is in a body bag. And if you can't see that that's the proper comparison, if you're only putting your comparison against blacks, against other blacks, then you are essentially limiting yourself and actually marginalizing yourself without seeing that the proper comparison is between blacks and whites who engage in similar types of behavior. And until that's equal, then we aren't necessarily living in an equal society. But see, this is what's so deep. Korryn Gaines' experience and the response to her death isn't just about her blackness. See, it's also about her womanness. It's also about her agency to stand up and speak out as a black woman experiencing structural violence on behalf of the state and men in her own community. This is intersectionality in black sexual politics at its finest. Shout out to my University of Maryland colleague, distinguished university professor, Dr. Patricia Hill Collins, who was the first African-American woman to be elected to as presidency of the American Sociological Association, which happened over the past decade or so. So, in closing, conversations matter like black lives in books. And if you are a pro-black woman, then you don't really support black lives.